If we're not stealing the content, we're not winning. Go, my minions. Make me the best copycat of that guy's art that you can. Do it quickly. I don't have much time before I lose the trend of the LARPing.
That is TechnoLarp, the man who spent 6 weeks building one of the fastest growing Minecraft channels on the platform by openly copying Technoblade, the beloved creator who passed away from cancer in 2022. And this is what happened when he challenged one of the biggest commentary channels on YouTube to take a closer look at his project.
The missing context you were referring to that you keep harping on, I don't think did you any favors, and the more I looked into it, the worse I feel like it got.
In the space of just 3 days, Penguinz0 dragged this dispute in front of over 3 million viewers, turning a strange tribute channel into one of the most divisive creator controversies of the year. Now, to be clear, it's not like Penguinz0 personally deleted this guy's channel, but he did put into motion what ultimately led to the end of TechnoLarp by pointing out the many contradictions and seemingly misleading claims being made by the supposed tribute page, provoking an honest response from Technodad himself. What Penguinz0 destroyed was every clean explanation TechnoLarp had, the family blessing he never received, the collaboration he says he didn't initiate, and a donation link most of his viewers had no idea existed. Because the strangest part of this story is that Penguinz0's first video left TechnoLarp room to simply correct the record and move on. Instead, his correction handed Penguinz0, aka Charlie, the material needed for a far more damaging second video. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be examining how Penguinz0 dismantled the Technoblade Larper's entire defense. But you know what doesn't require anyone's permission? That subscribe button, so hit it and let's get on with the video. The story starts on the 18th of May 2026, when a channel called LarpTubers began uploading videos in the style of Markiplier, kicking off a trend that came to be known as the LarpTubers. The premise was simple: creators openly role-playing as established YouTubers, recreating their voices, mannerisms, and editing styles from past years. Nobody was pretending to actually be Markiplier. The appeal was pure nostalgia for an older era of YouTube. Then, on the 2nd of June, one of these channels picked a creator who was no longer alive to have an opinion about it. In his very first upload, TechnoLarp walked viewers through the design process in real time. People had already told him he sounded like Technoblade, so he proposed a blue recolor of Technoblade's outfit, an inverted profile picture, and asked his viewers to make him, in his own words, the best copycat they could. To his credit, none of this was hidden. The channel name literally contains the word LARP, the descriptions carried disclaimers, and TechnoLarp repeatedly told his audience that he was not Technoblade. Even his channel biography was an open parody. Technoblade's channel page reads, "I play video games too much. I might not be the best, but I do have hot elbows." TechnoLarp's reads, "I don't play video games enough. I might be the best, also my elbows are cold." And the content followed the same blueprint. Technoblade once beat Minecraft's hardcore mode using a steering wheel.
On July 29th, I live streamed my attempt to complete the ultimate Minecraft challenge. The rules were simple. The game was locked on the hardest difficulty. If I died once, the world would delete itself, and to win, I had to defeat the Ender Dragon.
So TechnoLarp beat it using nothing but a mouse.
So I was playing Minecraft one day, and I thought, this game's too easy. I need a more difficult challenge. Now I could try to beat Minecraft with a steering wheel, except someone's already done that. So then I was thinking, maybe I use a flight simulator. It's only $250 on Amazon. I needed a cheaper and a more convenient way to play Minecraft. Meet my mousies.
He even remade one of Technoblade's videos title for title, right down to the premise of proving he doesn't auto-click. And when questions started coming in about whether any of this was appropriate, TechnoLarp gave an explanation that whatever you make of the project sounded completely sincere.
Let me just talk about this real quick, because I know this is gonna come up later on, and we need to talk about it now before it gets out of hand, right? This is for the love of the game. This is not disrespectful in any way, unless I'm doing something that would be like negative to his legacy, I guess. But I mean, that's kind of hard to do. The legacy's so large, yeah, it's It's really just make people happy because people really do miss him and want to see more Technoblade content. And I'm not Technoblade, but I sure as heck sound like him and I know how to play Minecraft. So I'm gonna make videos just to make people happy.
For a large part of his audience, that was enough, with comments reading, "The highest form of flattery is imitation." Though even in those early days, not everyone was convinced, with another viewer simply stating, "This is weird as fuck." What's not up for debate is that the formula worked. TechnoLarp uploaded his first video on the 2nd of June, and by the 20th, he was already streaming a 100,000 subscriber celebration, a milestone most channels never reached, crossed in just 18 days. By the 14th of July, the channel had garnered 198,000 subscribers, with 16 uploads totaling more than 3.5 million views. And through all of it, money never seemed to be part of the equation. His early short description stated, word for word, no profit is made. And in his first video, TechnoLarp joked about the fortune he'd never see.
Either way, you don't win if you don't steal the content, so I'm doing the same thing he's doing, I don't care. I'm gonna get more subscribers and money and everything anyways, I'm gonna be rich. At least I would be if it wasn't all just going to charity.
Keep those two sentences in mind, because they would eventually become the most pivotal part of this entire controversy. Every other major LarpTuber had one safety net that TechnoLarp didn't. The person they were imitating could log on and tell them to stop. Technoblade couldn't. In June of 2022, his family announced that he had passed away from cancer in a farewell video titled, "So long, nerds." That difference changed the question entirely. A disclaimer can tell viewers who you're not. It can't tell you whether a grieving family wants to hear their son's voice coming out of a stranger. And TechnoLarp clearly understood that their view mattered, because by the family's own account, he reached out to Technoblade's father on several occasions. Then, on the 5th of July, TechnoLarp posted the statement that became the hinge of this entire controversy. "I never got permission, but Technodad has seen me and has not had any intent to stop me as of the moment. We don't know his thoughts yet, let's give him some time to figure out if he likes it or not." When Charlie later read that statement, he zeroed in on the logic holding it together.
So first and foremost, TechnoLarp does openly state that he never got permission from the family to do this. I never got permission, but Technodad has seen me and has not had any intent to stop me as of the moment. We don't know his thoughts yet. Let's give him some time to figure out if he likes it or not. I don't love that statement from TechnoLarp because he's apparently reached out multiple times to talk to Technodad about it, to get his feelings on it, and hasn't received any response, so he's taken that silence as like a thumbs up to keep doing it in the meantime.
And that's the defensible version of this criticism. Not that TechnoLarp was ordered to stop and refused, he wasn't. At least at that time, but that he treated silence as a green light while the one answer that mattered was still pending. The following day, that answer finally arrived, when Technoblade's father, known to fans as Technodad, responded on Reddit. "I've been avoiding addressing this for a while now. I just don't know how to react to this. I mean, certainly it's flattering to Techno, but like, what am I supposed to do? I will say that TechnoLarp has reached out to me on a few occasions to get my take on things, and I have been putting that off for a while. I just don't know what to say to him. Lately, I've been feeling very much like I just want to hide in my room and work on my script and space visualization software. Some days I don't go outside. It's very peaceful, and I really haven't had enough peace in my life. I feel a little guilty for how I've kinda disappeared from the community, but I know I'll come back at some point. Anyway, my response is inconclusive. I'm still ruminating on the whole thing. Inconclusive. Not approval, not condemnation, but a father openly admitting that he did not know what to do with the situation his son's imitator had placed in front of him. Now, to be completely fair to TechnoLarp, that is not the response of a man demanding the channel disappear, and TechnoLarp did genuinely seek his opinion, but it is also the exact opposite of a blessing. And Hypixel co-founder Simon pointed out the impossible position it created, writing, "If Technodad asks to delete the channel, he then becomes the villain to the Larper fans. This is a lose-lose situation for Technodad." In other words, the man least equipped to carry this decision was the only person being asked to make it. While that question hung unanswered, the channel moved somewhere no other LarpTuber had gone. Skeppy wasn't just any Minecraft YouTuber. He was one of Technoblade's closest collaborators, with years of videos built on their friendship and rivalry. On the 22nd of June, TechnoLarp told his viewers that the real Skeppy had added him and asked to collaborate.
Anyways, I'm going through them and I see Skeppy and I'm like, ah, it's just a Skeppy Larper. And then I'm about to click ignore and then I'm like, wait a minute, there's no Larp in his name. And then I confirmed it with a few people. Yeah, real Skeppy friended me. And
specificity matters here because this detail later became one of the few battles TechnoLarp actually won. According to TechnoLarp, Skeppy initiated the contact, and Skeppy's own upload backs that up.
Okay, so there's this guy named TechnoLarp who is LARPing as Technoblade, and he sounds a lot like Technoblade, so I decided to call him.
On the 3rd of July, the collaboration went live, and TechnoLarp played the entire thing in character.
Today's the day you've all been waiting for. Skeppy collab.
So Skeppy chose this. Nobody tricked him and nobody forced him. But that is also precisely what alarmed people. The imitation was no longer a self-contained parody channel. It was now performing as Technoblade inside Technoblade's own former friendships. The video quickly became the channel's biggest upload, sitting at roughly 589,000 views by mid-July. And within the week, some of the biggest names in Minecraft and Technoblade's old friends began speaking out. Tubbo wrote, "Is it safe to say I'm really not sure I'm a fan of this whole LARP account trend thing? It just feels off." To which Sneegsag, a longtime friend of Technoblade, replied, "You're not a fan of a dude impersonating our dead friend?" And fellow creator Picketclicks went further still, writing, "It is not your legacy to carry on. You're just stealing someone's IP who physically cannot defend themselves." And despite what many think, none of this was manufactured by the commentary scene. Smaller channels had been covering the dispute since the middle of June, but on the 11th of July, the argument stopped being a Minecraft community matter altogether, because Charlie had just uploaded. Charlie's video titled Technoblade Larping Situation pulled in over 2.1 million views by the 14th of July, instantly becoming the single biggest spotlight ever pointed at this channel. And if you're expecting a hit piece, that isn't what he made. His criticism came down to 4 points. TechnoLarp never received the family's permission. The situation quietly placed an impossible burden on a grieving father. The Skeppy collaboration carried the act into Technoblade's real relationships, and the project left open the possibility of benefiting from a dead creator's identity. Throughout all of it, he repeatedly made clear that he didn't think TechnoLarp was malicious or a bad person. Even so, his comment section was far from unanimous, with replies stating, "A lot of this information is incorrect and pretty harmful," and to be fair, it was Skeppy who reached out to TechnoLarp. That second comment mattered because it was true, and it pointed a genuine gap in the first video. TechnoLarp evidently agreed, because he then walked directly into Penguinz0's livestream chat and told him the video was missing context. On the Skeppy point, he was right, and Charlie claimed to have known that beforehand but didn't think it was worth including. But if the first video had missed something that important, what else was waiting to be found? When Charlie actually went looking, one of the first things he checked was TechnoLarp's recent live streams, and in the description of his streams from the 9th and 10th of July, he found 3 links sitting side by side.
I was under the impression, as well as many others, that there was money going to charity through TechnoLarper making this content. In his description, it said, still deciding charity earnings. So the implication is the content is generating money that is solely used for charity. That is not the case. And after the stream where we went back and forth in this conversation, he changed it to, I do not have monetization enabled. So many people like myself were under the impression that all of this was done with no financial gain on his own end or anything like that, just all money going to charity through this. And that was something that was used as a defense of the entire thing, about how he's doing this from an ethical perspective, where he is doing all of this just because he was so inspired and wanted to pay homage and a tribute to Technoblade, and all the money was going to charity. So he has a charity donation link at the Tiltify, and then right under that he has a personal donation link where you can donate to TechnoLarper himself. the guy doing this. And then at the very bottom, he even has a sponsored section. Server hosting by Prism nodes. Use code LARP at checkout for 30% off on any purchase. That feels like a deliverable for a sponsorship. He has his own code, LARP. That's affiliate marketing. So you're taking sponsors as TechnoLarp. When I asked him about that on stream, he said that they paid him in a server and that they had offered him money, but he declined. But you still have a code. So like, where's that going? Is that going to charity? He didn't say on stream, but like, that's very odd. You have a sponsor as TechnoLarp, and you do have a direct personal donation link to you, not to charity. So you are financially benefiting from it.
A fundraising link for a cancer charity, a personal Streamlabs donation link paying TechnoLarp himself, and at the bottom, a promotion for the server company Prism Nodes, complete with his own discount code LARP. Just 5 weeks earlier, TechnoLarp had joked that he'd be rich if the money weren't all going to charity, and his description stated that no profit was made. Those words were still shaping public perception, while a separate route quietly allowed viewers to pay the man himself. So let's state the contradiction as carefully as the evidence allows. The project raised money for charity, sure, while also allowing viewers to pay TechnoLarp personally, all while he was claiming not to make any profit. When Charlie raised this in stream, TechnoLarp gave his defense in full.
My monetization is and has been turned off. That's one thing that should have been stated maybe. I have a donation link in my live streams for charity through Tiltify. So you have a donation link for charities? I read your about section. You said you were deciding where the money will go to what charity. That is in your own about section. And then on your Twitter, you said you won't make money until Technodad gives you the okay. And I said I don't exactly know what that means, if that means that you're not making money or that you plan on it in the future, but in the meantime are donating to charity. That is in your about section, that you are deciding where the money, what charity it's going to. So actually, you saying that is a little interesting because the community that watches you thinks that you're donating the money you're making to charity.
None of those facts preserve the simpler impression his audience had been given, that this project generated no personal benefit at all. The sponsorship arrangement didn't make it look any better either. TechnoLarp said the company supplied his server hosting and that he declined a 20% affiliate share, but at the end of the day, the details behind this arrangement and whether any money is actually being generated is between TechnoLarp and the sponsor. Not a good look either way. A community post up on TechnoLarp's page allowed the audience to vote on how future channel revenue should be split between him and charity. Based on the poll results, the 50-50 option won. And this proves one thing: future personal revenue had been openly on the table, and whilst he was growing the page by saying that he wasn't going to make any profit, as the page became popular, his views began shifting too. TechnoLarp, for his part, pointed at the results, telling Charlie the project had raised more than $3,000 for charity, more than he had ever personally received.
We've raised over $3K for charity, and way more than I ever gained. However you spin it, that's a net positive for this situation. Kinda shifting it, but alright. You also do just say outright that you are making on a personal level, it's just not to the level that's going to charity.
Both of those things can be true at once. The charity fundraising can be real, and the public framing can still have been simpler than the reality, which is exactly what Charlie meant by the line this entire video has been building toward.
The missing context you were referring to, that you keep harping on, I don't think did you any favors, and the more I looked into it, the worse I feel like it got. I still don't think you're doing it maliciously. I think maybe you just don't want to wrestle with just how fucked up it is. And you've come so far already that you don't want to really look in the mirror on it, to really see the other perspective, and you don't want to feel like the father of someone who you clearly looked up to is being made uncomfortable by your actions, so you're spinning it in a way that helps you feel better about it. I think this reads very clearly how uncomfortable it is for him, and you even say he's probably overwhelmed. That's a negative thing, man. And it is very tricky for him in particular because you have a very successful community, or very successful YouTube channel now with a community that has been constantly badgering this man about it, to the point that he did also make a post about how much it's coming up. And he doesn't want to like make enemies enemies. This is a good guy. But I think anyone can look at this and see just how uncomfortable he is with this.
The money was only half the problem. The other half was what happened to TechnoLarp's credibility once his claims were being checked in real time. He told Charlie that the voice and the personality were simply his own, and the voice may genuinely be natural. He'd uploaded a video denying a voice changer, and nothing in the record proves otherwise. But a natural voice doesn't design a blue recolor of another man's outfit, invert his profile picture, mirror his bio, and remake his video titles. His own first upload documents every single one of those deliberate choices. Then came the timeline. During the exchange, Charlie challenged TechnoLarp's claims about when he had and hadn't been active, pointing to streams and appearances that contradicted them. And TechnoLarp conceded that one of his statements was wrong.
I'm not streamed after your video. So you have been live after the video too. That's not true. Just it wasn't on your own account. I was talking about this situation. Is that bad? You can talk about whatever you want, man, but your point was that you haven't done this since. And that is categorically false. You've done it every day since even this post, the one that you say was like a joke, and you said that you haven't since I made my video. You have. Like, you can do that if you want, but why are you trying to pretend that you weren't or lying that you weren't? Like, you wanted me to find more context because you thought it makes you look better. It makes you look a lot worse, man.
Now, one admitted error is one admitted error. It does not make everything else he said a lie, and I'm not going to pretend it does. Before that exchange, this was a contested ethical argument about where tribute ends. After it, Charlie had uncovered contradictions that made it all look a whole lot worse. On the 13th of July, Charlie posted a 35-minute follow-up titled "Can't Believe I'm Talking About This Again," which garnered over 1 million views within the first day. The reaction around TechnoLarp in the follow-up leaned noticeably harsher than the first video, particularly on the donation link, with one reply under the livestream exchange reading, "Says he isn't monetized, so it's okay to pretend to be someone's dead son. Has a personal TTS donation link right under the charity link. Disgusting behavior." And another viewer commented on what they described as guilt-tripping behavior from TechnoLarp's side, stating, "Him mentioning other LarpTubers being scared and him being doxxed and saying some of your fans are taking it too far seems a little guilt-trippy, which definitely speaks to his non-LARPing character. That said, this situation wasn't entirely one-sided. TechnoLarp still has a large base of supporters, many of whom accuse Charlie of blowing things out of proportion. But that raises an obvious question. What exactly was blown out of proportion? All Charlie did was share his thoughts on someone using a dead YouTuber's image and audience to make money, all while openly claiming he wasn't making a cent, and that Charlie himself didn't include context in his video, when in reality, that context was likely what destroyed his channel. He never called him a scammer, he never even suggested there was even malice behind it. If anything, everything pointed to TechnoLarp simply mishandling the situation. A creator who saw an opportunity and was so blinded by it that he never stopped to consider how his actions might affect the family and friends of the creator he once looked up to. And once things started going so well for him and he started gaining so much support from fans, he continued to ignore the questions and warning signs that showed that this was all going to end badly for him. Charlie would end the video by stating,
"In the last video, I said the comparison would be like you are gaining a successful YouTube channel, which is a big deal, but at least you're not making money personally from it. But now, turns out you are. You never got permission to do that. And in a case like this, as I think you recognize, that is important to see how the family feels, to see if they're okay with that. And you just took their silence as consent for you to continue to do this. Even when Technodad did make a statement that clearly expressed his feelings on this being very conflicted, you still continued to stream as TechnoLarp. Even though you said you hadn't done it since, it is provable that you have. Anyway, that was the extent of our conversation. I was very surprised that it even happened in the first place. To want me to dig deeper into it when there's things in there that I like even less that I didn't know about before is a pretty interesting strategy, and I don't really understand it.
During the livestream exchange, TechnoLarp reported that he had been doxxed and that members of his family had received threats. Charlie condemned the harassment outright in his follow-up, and Technodad, the one man with more right to be upset than anyone, responded to the reports with 6 words. "Yeah, that is absolutely not okay." Whatever you think of this channel, that is the line. Criticism of a YouTube project does not justify threats against a family, and it says something that on this one point, TechnoLarp, Charlie, and Technodad were in complete agreement. Charlie's first video was an argument about a premise, whether an openly labeled imitation of a deceased creator should exist at all. And the response was far from one-sided, with many of Charlie's own viewers disagreeing with him in the comment section. It was TechnoLarp's decision to demand a closer look that turned an argument into an audit. The personal donation link, the hosting sponsorship deal, the revenue poll, and the timeline errors all came out of the context he insisted was missing. Whilst I was working on this video, a major escalation took place, where Technoblade's dad, Technodad, came out explicitly stating his real thoughts on the situation, condemning TechnoLarp. He responded with a Reddit post reading, "Hey everyone, Mr. Technodad here. 4 years after my son Alex, known to so many as Technoblade, passed away from sarcoma, his community remains one of the most meaningful parts of the legacy he left behind. You make art, videos, jokes, and tributes. You look after each other. Together, we have built a loving and inclusive community. It means more than can ever be properly said. Tributes are welcome, and they always will be. Fan art, cosplay, quotes, and creative works made in his memory are ways of celebrating him, and those works speak to my heart. They speak to all of our hearts. I have recently become aware of concerns around a YouTube channel imitating Technoblade's voice, mannerisms, look, name, and persona. When this was first brought to me by one of Alex's YouTube friends, I was under the impression that it might be a one-time tribute. I did not know what to think. It was startling and emotionally complex to be presented with, and when people asked me about it at the time, the only honest answer I had was inconclusive. However, this has continued for several weeks, and it is now clear that an identity is being built as an ongoing public persona. That is a different thing from a tribute. Many others have since reached out for my opinion. The situation is complicated by a simple truth. Despite being Technodad, I cannot speak unilaterally on behalf of all of Alex's family, friends, and fans, who no doubt have a variety of reactions. But after careful consideration, I've reached a conclusion I can give from my own perspective. As Technoblade's father, and as the person Alex entrusted to look after what he left behind, I am asking for this to please stop, and for the persona in question to cease. No blessing or permission for this, or any similar persona now or in the future, has been given. I encourage anyone interested in becoming a content creator to find their own voice. Show us who you are. A sincere presentation of your authentic self will always be better than an imitation of someone else. I am also asking the community not to harass anyone over this. That is not what Alex would have wanted. I do not believe there was malicious intent. Technoblade never dies. He is in his videos right where he left himself, still making us laugh, still reaching our hearts. Mr. Technodad. So, Technodad's response made it pretty clear that he was not comfortable and did not approve of TechnoLarp's channel. So, what did TechnoLarp do next? Well, he created a community post mentioning that he saw Technodad's post, and then teased that something new was coming, as well as a video that was going to explain what was happening next. Sure enough, a few hours later, he published a video explaining what happened and his future plans for the channel. Unfortunately, I think this video was a step in the wrong direction. Whilst he has conceded that he will no longer be LARPing as Technoblade, which he probably shouldn't have been when he didn't have permission in the first place, and when Technodad made it pretty clear that he was uncomfortable about the channel existing already, he is now saying that he is going to rebrand the channel into his own Minecraft YouTube channel, essentially using this 200,000 subscriber audience that he built skinwalking this dead YouTuber while his family was feeling uncomfortable, to kickstart his own personal Minecraft YouTube channel. Now, I find this to be quite stupid, to be honest with you. And it seems like TechnoLarp has not learned his lesson one bit, as in his response video, he claims that he is going to keep all of the videos up on the channel where he is LARPing as Technoblade, unless Technodad specifically tells him to take them down. Once again, taking silence as consent, and really using the fact that Technodad didn't explicitly say in his post he must remove these videos as an opening to keep them up and keep the channel growing. I actually started off this video, and whilst making this video, thought that the TechnoLarper guy, who's now known as Striker, really was just a decent guy who was mishandling the situation. But the more I'm looking into it, and the more moves he's publicly making, the more TechnoLarper comes off to me as opportunistic. He took silence as consent when running the channel and LARPing as a dead YouTuber. Then when Technodad made a response saying he didn't know how to feel about the situation and made it clear that he was feeling uncomfortable about it. He conveniently claimed that he didn't say that the channel couldn't exist, and now when Technodad has finally came out and made a response saying that he doesn't approve of it, he is keeping the videos up because he didn't tell him to specifically delete them, and is using this massive audience that he's now built up as a launchpad for his own personal career, which no doubt will be monetized. Whilst I don't think it's not okay for TechnoLarper to have a YouTube channel or anything, he could have at the very least started a new channel and told the audience that if they do want to follow him for who he is, which first of all, who even knows who he is because this entire time he's been skinwalking Technoblade, that they could go to his new channel that he creates and starts a new audience from, utilizing his own personality and his own content. Anyway guys, I'm finding this quite frustrating to watch because he had the perfect opportunity to simply apologize, take down the videos, and thank his audience for the experience that they did have, and for the support that he gained in that time. But instead, it really looks to me like he's been attributing the success of the channel to himself, despite him never even being the selling point of the channel. He wasn't even the first person to think of LARPing as Technoblade. He was just the one who took it the furthest. Now, I have seen a lot of support for TechnoLarp even still, so maybe I'm just completely crazy here, but please comment your opinion on this down below. Personally, I think he's already put Technoblade's family through enough, taking silence as consent to continue running the channel, lying to his audience about it all going to charity, whilst accepting donations, and then when the channel started performing well, asking how much he can keep for himself, and now using it as this massive launchpad to his own personal brand, and in the video even inferring that he might collaborate with Skeppy, meaning that he likely sees this as an in to the Minecraft YouTube community. Something here just feels massively off, and maybe it always felt that way from the start. Looking back at his first video when he mentioned how he has to grow the channel as quickly as possible before the trend dies, it starts coming off to me as someone wanting to just ride the trend and finding the biggest creator to do so with that he happens to sound like. A creator that tragically passed away way too young and has a large audience of young fans who still have a void in their hearts ever since he unfortunately passed away. And I believe that makes all of this even worse, is that TechnoLarp genuinely had a ton of diehard fans. And I believe a lot of the attachment from those fans comes from the fact that they used to watch Technoblade, and when he passed away, he left a void. And it felt like for a while that void was finally being filled again, even if it wasn't by Technoblade himself. Anyway guys, that's all from me.